Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live, and this is the first day of 2025. And unfortunately and tragically, the new year started off with a major attack, a tragedy of as yet unknown proportions, but still one in which 15 lives have been taken and possibly 30, 40, 50 seriously wounded, and who knows what the fatality toll will be. Nor does anyone know at this point the full dimension of this intended attack, except that it is greater than presently appears. I would say that would be the fairest and best way to describe it. I was going to begin this show with a monologue about how we should practice politics now that the new year has started, but the new year has taken over with something much more compelling, and that is the terrorism that we have been warned about for quite some time now because of Joseph Biden and his completely, I don't know how to describe it, administration that doesn't seem to have the slightest bit of concern about the safety of the American people. Otherwise, they would not have opened the borders of this country for now almost 4 years to any terrorist that had any common sense who could figure out how to enter. This may or may not be a foreign terrorist. It sounds like, and the president must have repeated that. Oh, I don't know how many times in his thing that he read to us, looking like just warmed over. I mean, it's pathetic the way he looks. No questions, which makes the whole thing kind of stupid. I mean, the American people want to see a leader who knows how to bring them through this, and what they saw instead was a mummified jackass come out and read a statement rather like I don't know. I think most people in a nursing home would have done a better job. Why we have him there is, of course, one of the great scandals of many that we're living through. But in any event, this attack took place about 3 in the morning in New Orleans. It took place in a city that is a tragically and unfortunately a focal focus of terrorist activity, like New York is, like some of the other uh, major cities of the world, America included. The former director of the FBI, Director Wray, for about 9 months has been warning us that there are many unknown terrorists in the United States and that we should expect an attack. I consider those protect your backside statements not really useful ones, because if we had had a real director of the FBI 2, 3, and 4 years ago, this massive number of terrorists that would have let in that we don't know about and the materials that they brought in would not be here. So he's basically telling us what he should have told us 3 years ago, but because he was not a loyal official of the United States of America, but rather an operative of the Biden cabal, he did nothing about it. Never complained about it, and just sat there as Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas lied and lied and lied and lied about our border being secure. Well, let's get to this one. This one took place on Bourbon Street, and I'm going to. Well, I was going to try to find a map. I had one, but I can't get it back, unfortunately. But no, we won't take a break. Well, I'll show you what I.
In the meantime, I'll play
You
video
play the video, and I'll show you
of
what
the attack. You can see on
I'll
here
show you what I
a
do.
the moment that the vehicle, an electric pickup truck, turns into Bourbon Street around a police cruiser, and that's the moment that happens. You have it?
I do.
We'll find the video here while we get this up.
Well, you're watching the video there. You see that white car. The white car is the car to keep your eye on. That's the attack vehicle being driven by this 42, 43-year-old former military man named Jabbar, last name Din Jabbar. You see the right turn? That's the right turn down Bourbon Street. And within about 2 blocks, within about 2 blocks, he smashes into a post or something. And then a shootout begins, explosions happen, and a shootout begins with the police that results in his death. It happened within 2 blocks of the turn. And inside the car, they found a black ISIS flag was on the back of the car, and they found 3 improvised pipe bombs, IEDs, that had remote detonators. And they were inside the car, indicating that he was going to do something, with them. When you look at the interactive map that I'll find for you after the break, you can see that most likely he was going to continue further down Bourbon Street. So you see him make that right. He's going very, very fast. He's going very fast down Bourbon Street. And it looks like he gets interrupted by a collision that he wasn't anticipating, because a block or 2 ahead, there are pre-staged explosive devices. And then 2 blocks further ahead, there are more pre-staged explosive devices. Also, we have sketchy information that 3 men, possibly 4, and a woman were observed, not together, but separately, in those areas doing, I guess we would say, suspicious things, since we have sketchy information. So the best surmise that I can come up with right now is that he was supposed to continue on his journey. It looked like he had 2 stops he was going to make. At the final stop, he's going to create a mass explosion with the car, and also apparently use the devices that were left there for him. But he never got there. Turned down Bourbon Street. There was supposed to be bollards stopping him. Here's another strange thing that happened. The city of New Orleans removed them a few weeks ago in order to either repair them or put better and more effective ones. The body you're seeing now is his. If they notice that on the screen, that's his body after the shootout with the police. No police officers, thank God, were injured, but the death toll right now is 15, with at least 30 seriously injured. And just a short while ago, it had been 10. So this is not a good thing. But when he made the turn on Bourbon Street, there should have been obstructions, bollards. There were actually. They were just rather minor obstructions that he easily went around. Now, the bollards were removed so they could be improved, or possibly new ones put up for the Super Bowl, which is going to take place there in February. And they were going to be replaced sometime after the first of the year. So, strange question number 1. What about New Year's and the Sugar Bowl? That's not going to bring as many people to New Orleans as the Super Bowl? New Orleans on a New Year's gets a vast amount of people, like New York does anyway. I don't know how much more the Super Bowl accounts for than a regular New Year's. Any kind of planning by the mayor and the police chief, and I have to say, the mayor looked reasonably okay. The police chief looked completely baffled. by what she was handling. But in any event, this should have been considered as dangerous, if not more, than the Super Bowl. Two teams were going to play. Notre Dame, which has the biggest following in the country, it is well known that their fans just crowd any place they go. And going to New Orleans is going to add to what already is a massive crowd. Georgia, it ain't far away. And the game was going to take place, what was it, Ted, at 8 o'clock at night, right? So they were all there partying. The regular New Year's people, which is massive, and the extra Notre Dame, Georgia, and just football fan people. And they didn't get the obstructions ready in time. I'd have to think, going back to my days as the mayor of New York, that the director of the mayor's office of emergency management, if I didn't think of it, would have taken my head off if I had scheduled it for after this event. Well, some good it's going to do us after that event, because that probably is a more dangerous event than the Super Bowl. But in any event, it's a big gap. And their analysis is, and the one in New Orleans, which we'll get to in a minute, or the one in Las Vegas, rather, where the cyber car, the cyber is a truck, right? It looks like some kind of a weapon out of space that blew up in front of the Trump Hotel. The press had to inform the police chief or the sheriff that the car and the truck were rented from the same agency, Turo. Gee, that's kind of a connection you sort of pick up before you went out there to brief, I would think. Would not be very encouraged if my police chief, let's say Bernie Kerik, didn't know that. I tend to doubt he would have known it. So, and then we have the FBI quickly dismissing this as a terrorist incident, the first one. Now, I can see why they might not want to embrace it as a terrorist incident, although I'm not sure the first one, why you're going to have much problem with a guy turning around, going through obstructions, going down a street like a madman, getting into a shootout with the police. And then very quickly, you find a completely armored truck ready to blow up a city, right? And then 2 blocks later, you find more. And 2 blocks later, you find more. Now, maybe they found even more. That's all I know about. I don't know. I'd be pretty comfortable saying it's an alleged terrorist attack. But when you watch the FBI and you watch Biden, you almost look like, unless it's shoved down their throat, they're going to avoid calling anything a terrorist attack. Which means I don't know how alert we are for these if we do that. When you practice denial is not the best way to create an agency that is relentlessly looking for something like that. This was my problem with Obama. Obama would never say the words Islamic extremist terrorism. Oh gosh, we'd have shootings in bases where guys would run in with a gun saying Allah Akbar. Now, I don't know. I think a kid in the 10th grade would have figured out if you say Allah Akbar and then you kill people, you're killing people in the name of Allah, in the name of, okay, let's say a distorted version of the Muslim religion. No, you could not identify those as terrorist or Islamic extremist terrorist killings. If you can't identify your enemy, geez, it's really hard to catch him, isn't it? That creates enormous confusion. It creates enormous confusion in the agencies who think you want them to go soft on it. And they did. Just think of the Boston bombers who should have been caught before it happened. Oh my, and go on and on. So thank God we're getting rid of them. This is one of his parting gifts to us, this attack, Biden's parting gifts. He hasn't killed enough people. So people, it's hard to get the identities of all the people that were killed. One was a native of Louisiana who worked in New York as a stock trader. His name is Tiger Betch, very fine-looking young man, and he was killed. He was killed in the terror attack. He was a football player originally at St. Thomas More High School, and also played for Princeton. And he earned his degree in 21, and he was working in New York. Also, a father of two, Reggie Hunter, who was a warehouse manager, was killed. His sons are only 12 and 18 months. They're going to grow up without a father as a result of this terrorist attack. These are the prices that we pay for our lack of vigilance. The person who is identified as that dead body who drove the truck into Bourbon Street comes originally from Houston, Texas. So there's an investigation going on there that is described as very active, but there are no, and this is all right. They shouldn't, leak what they're doing. But there's an area of Houston where he comes from, where there is a heavy presence of FBI agents and apparently other people, about a 4 square block area. The car had Texas license plates. And the FBI finally said that Shamsud Din Jabbar was not solely responsible for the attack, which is a big change from the early version of they couldn't describe it as a terrorist attack, although the sheriff did. And then eventually they have now described it as a terrorist attack, and they have also acknowledged other people were involved in it. Exactly how many? I guess we don't know. The ISIS flag doesn't seem to be enough to help them with the possibility that maybe this is Islamic extremist inspired. I don't know if there was a Nazi flag and the guy was white. You think they'd have much trouble that it was a white nationalist? No. They'd be yelling it, screaming it, and the newspapers tomorrow would say, white nationalist attack, and then it may turn out that the flag was there accidentally, and then they wouldn't change it.
Well, Mayor, we want to bring up the map here. This is from the New York Post, and while we're working on our big screen here, we're going to bring it up here on the
on the
TV.
Plan, but go ahead.
Well, we can do it. Do you want to wait till after the break?
No, let's do it. People, you have to understand how this happened. When you just see it that way, unless you, that's a little small. Unless you
fill the whole screen, but
unless you know New Orleans, which I do, I know it really well. So I'm going to say something really to lighten the burden on them a little. I don't think the bollards would have stopped them. I think he would have gone around them. And there is a chance they could have stopped the emergency vehicles getting there quickly. Now, I don't know how much that has to do with saving these people. It would seem to me there were an awful lot of alternatives, if you look at that map, for emergency vehicles to get through. So why don't we take a break, because it's really hard to describe this to you without the map, although I will give you a little preview of what happened just a few hours later, and that is that I don't know how to describe these vehicles. You see them every once in a while. They're the strangest looking vehicles. They look like they were built to bomb things. What do they call it? A cyber vehicle?
Oh, the Tesla Cybertruck. So we'll play a quick video of that.
The Cybertruck pulled up. The Cybertruck pulled up in front of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, and then just blew up. A guy dead. They seem to know who he is, but they're not revealing it. They did not know, which is very disappointing, that he rented it from the same place that Jabbar, the same app that Jabbar rented the truck that he used on the attack that was 4 hours earlier.
So yeah, here's a video.
Explosion in front of. So all you have connecting them right now is the coincidence that, and that's quite an explosion, huh?
Yeah, we'll play that again.
There must have been fireworks in the car as well, huh?
Oh, yes, they're saying a lot of fireworks, explosives of some sort. They haven't. They've kind of narrowed it down, but they're saying explosives or fireworks.
It looks like there was an original explosive. Let's look at it again. That's not just fireworks. Now that's fireworks. That first explosion looks to me like something a lot stronger than fireworks. See it?
That's fireworks right there.
That original one?
No.
No. Watch the original one. There's the boom. That's not fire. That's fireworks.
That's fireworks at the end.
So it looks like he had an explosive device, obviously a suicide killer. Not a particularly smart one. Otherwise, he would have smashed his way through the doors of the Trump Hotel, which with a tank like that, he probably would have been successful in doing, Ted. I know you and I both know that hotel. We've stayed there. I've stayed there numerous times. And it's a beautiful, I think it's 62, 63 stories. It's quite a beautiful hotel. And it's a kind of oasis because sometimes you get tired in Las Vegas, or at least I do, staying in hotels where there's gambling because you can't go to sleep at night easily. And that hotel has no gambling. So it's like if you really are going there for business or to see a show or to play golf, which I used to do, it's a much nicer place to stay.
64 stories. It's listed as 64, but
54?
we know how the
no
64.
Oh, I thought it was 63, but that's okay.
You're one, but hey, who knows? You know, a lot of times
maybe
they
they
add a floor or skip a floor.
An extra floor
They skip
that
they
Trump
skip a
doesn't
floor.
tell anybody about,
Yeah.
except his friends. Sometime I'll tell you.
We wouldn't know about that, would we?
Building in New York that he wanted to make. I can't remember the exact number, but he wanted to make it 100 stories, and the planning commission told him it could only be like 88. But he had sold the 100th floor and the 99th floor and the 98th floor. And he took out 12 floors and at 13 to. Yeah.
Went from like floor 12 to floor 25.
I had a law partner that lived on the 97th floor, but it was actually 12th floor.
It's really the 85th floor. But
everybody loved it.
Who's
I
counting?
mean, everybody knew it, and he offered every one of them to get out of it, and they all thought it was cool.
Yeah.
So
it's a cool. That's a cool building. Great location.
Yeah, this is really shows you that he's always been enormously irritating to the elite. You know, a whole group of people organized a committee to fight that building.
Which are you talking about? Trump Tower, Fifth Avenue?
Trump Tower right by the UN.
Oh, okay.
It has a beautiful view of the East River.
Yeah.
And if you like the UN, it has a beautiful view of the UN. I wouldn't buy in that building because I'd get up every day cursing at the UN, which would be very, very bad because it would interfere with my prayers. But it's kind of a very tall, beautiful
Trump
building.
World Tower.
Yeah, but it's like one of those first, and now we have a bunch of them in New York that are like narrow towers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. It looks like it's gonna fall over to me, right?
Yeah.
And they have even one that's like half that now.
Yeah.
And the people but it's a beautiful, absolute beautiful building. I think it has a couple of pools and places to exercise. And
well, Walter Cronkite opposed the building.
Cronkite
didn't like the building.
Just about everybody that loves Walter Cronkite opposed the building. And they came to me and they said I should oppose it as the mayor. The mayor's office should intervene to protect their view. I said, let me get this straight. You want me to be sympathetic with you because you bought an apartment in Manhattan and then somebody put a big building up? I mean, have you looked around? When you bought the apartment, did you look around? What do you see? Big buildings. Now, I'm not going to be sympathetic to you because it happened to me. I had this wonderful 36-story building. I had a great view of all of Upper Manhattan and LaGuardia Airport. They built a big building right in front of me, and I missed the uptown view that allowed me to see Yankee Stadium. I had no complaint. The only complaint is that you properly put together the air rights. I asked my corporation counsel to look into it. They properly did the air rights. We didn't intervene. And the court, just to be nasty, took 12 stories away. Just to be nasty. Because they're a bunch of Democrats. Well, we'll be back very, very shortly. New York, has been crooked for most of its years since the Democratic Party came into existence. Goes back to Boss Tweed, and it continues because we have a beautiful building that we use all the time, named in honor of the biggest crook in American politics, Boss Tweed. Kind of give you an idea of what the Democrat Party of New York is like. We'll be back very shortly.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get your. Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order
Good evening. I know I can speak for all Americans when I say our hearts are with the people of New Orleans after the despicable attack that occurred in the early morning hours. To all the families of those who were killed, to all those who were injured, to all the people of New Orleans who are grieving today, I want you to know I grieve with you. Our nation grieves with you. We're going to stand with you as you mourn and as you heal in the weeks to come. I want to thank our brave first responders and law enforcement personnel who stopped the attacker in his tracks before he could kill or injure even more people. I want to thank you to everyone at the Department of the Homeland Security,
we have no order.
the Department of Justice, including the FBI, for working non-stop to investigate this heinous act. The FBI is leading the investigation to determine what happened, why it happened, whether there was any continuing threat to public safety. Here's what we know so far. The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill, The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage. And the fact is that right now, there you go. The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators. We have nothing additional to report at this time. The investigation is continuing to be active, and no one should jump to conclusions. I've directed my Attorney General, the FBI Director, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the head of the National Counter-Terrorism Center, and the intelligence community to work on this intensively until we have a full and complete information. And once we have that information, I will share that information as soon as we can confirm it. Additionally, we're tracking the explosion of a cyber truck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Law enforcement and the intelligence community are investigating this as well, including whether there's any possible connection with the attack in New Orleans. Thus far, there's nothing to report on that score at this time. I've directed my team to make sure every resource is made available to federal, state, and local law enforcement to complete the investigation in New Orleans quickly and to make sure there is no remaining threat to the American people. And we'll support the people of New Orleans as they begin the hard work of healing. New Orleans is a place unlike any other place in the world. It's a city full of charm and joy. So many people around the world love New Orleans because of its history, its culture, and above all, its people. So I know.
Well, we're back, and there we have the Mar-a-Lago avoiding planes going over us again, because the next president of the United States is at Mar-a-Lago, and the sooner he gets out of there and the sooner he gets to Washington, the safer I'm going to feel, so that we don't have to listen to the guy giving the nighttime talk at the nursing home. I apologize. We've been told by several of our very loyal listeners that there was a sound difficulty for a while. I don't know exactly when that started.
4 minutes. It happened when you were doing it.
It happened when I was doing my map. Oh my goodness.
Go through it again.
Well,
You should do it again.
okay. I don't want to bore you with this map. I mean, I'm a map.
It's not a boring map, and it's
I'm
important.
a map nut job, you know.
Yeah.
So I'll do it really simple. I'll make it really simple.
No, in time. You don't have to end time.
So if you look over there at the map, right? And we look at the bottom, that is a canal. Okay. That's Canal Street. He was driving along here on Canal Street, the upper part here, okay? Going that way. That's when you first see him, about right here, the white truck, right? The white truck goes around and makes a right turn. This is Bourbon Street and Canal. The bollards that weren't there, that were taken away to be repaired for the Super Bowl, should have been here. Question, would they have stopped him? Neutral experts do not believe it would have. Now, of course, it would have interfered with him, which would be a heck of a lot better, because maybe it would have, they might have been able to stop him before all the damage got done. So he makes the turn here, okay? So the permanent traffic barrier reportedly not deployed due to maintenance. Why it wasn't fixed in time for the Sugar Bowl and New Year's Eve, which is a very big event in New Orleans, and a risky one, is strange. The truck rather, then proceeds past Iberville Street, there, Bienville Street, and it's about to approach Conti Street when it hits a car. When it hits a car, a shootout begins with the police, which ends pretty quickly with him being shot and killed. I think you saw earlier the picture of his dead body on the street. But here's the interesting part, and why this map is important, and it will help the police to answer these questions. It appears as if he was supposed to continue, because 2 blocks away, in between Toulouse and St. Peter Street, this is Toulouse, this is St. Peter. In between the two, there was a pipe bomb that was found, which was concealed in a cooler. Now, was that there for him to pick up? Was that there for him to ignite? Was that there for him to pick up another terrorist? Because, among other things, there's reported 3 or 4 men and a woman who were observed in this area engaging in suspicious activity. Finally, there is, at the intersection of Orleans Street and Bourbon, which is here. This is Bourbon, right? There's Orleans right here. There's another cooler, and this time there's a pipe bomb, but this one is containing nails and C4 explosives. So this is a pretty devastating weapon. And to me, very similar to the weapons that used to be used, in the 1990s and the early 2000s in Israel, when they would conduct the attacks, particularly on the pizza place and the clubs. And I do have an unfortunate memory of a beautiful young girl whose face was all pockmarked with these, laying in the hospital fighting for her life. And she asked me if she'd ever be beautiful again. And of course, I told her that the doctors can do miracles nowadays, and they can. And I'm sure she is. I know she survived. And thank God. So there's no question that it looks like there was an additional route that he was to continue that was aborted by the collision with the car. So is he a terrorist? Again, we don't know that much about him. We know he's we know he's from America. He's not a foreign alien like so many of the people who have created problems in the last a couple of years, because we have an epidemic of that kind of crime. 60% of the crime in Queens, New York, is created by foreign aliens, and mostly the Biden ones. And Tren Diaragua, which we'll talk about a little later, of course, has become a major organized crime group since Biden has been in office. He was in the United States military. He did leave, it appears, under honorable circumstances. However, here he is driving his car with an ISIS flag, with massive explosives in it and massive explosives along the route. And he drives it all the way, apparently, from Houston. And it's up to the FBI and to investigate this. Hopefully, they'll do it faster than they're investigating the attempted assassinations of President Trump, particularly the first one, for which they've obtained, it appears to be, no information, because that attempted assassin is the only person in the last 20 or 30 years that has no presence online that they can find or want to find. Let's hope they're investigating this, and let's hope that Kash Patel gets there quickly and gets them back, gets them away from being the Biden police and occasionally the Biden Gestapo squad, and gets them into being an organization that preserves, protects, and defends the United States of America, which to some extent they were doing just the opposite of. This also happens a day after a military appeals court has decided that the people who are at Guantanamo, who killed our innocent American citizens at Ground Zero and in the Pentagon and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, will not get the death penalty. Now, how Biden could have argued for them to get the death penalty when he relieved 37 of 40 people of the death penalty, all but 3 who are sentenced to death in federal court, and told us that he was categorically opposed to it. And the only 3 that he didn't were people that had created political problems for him. One that attacked a synagogue and would have created significant problems if he doesn't have enough in the Jewish community. One that attacked a black church, again, and one that attacked Boston. And that's a Democrat city that wouldn't look too kindly on him letting someone who attacked the Boston Marathon in a vicious, cruel, and unusual way getting away with this. Remember, when they say he commuted their sentences, but they'll have to spend the rest of their life in jail, that is also one of the lies that we correct for you. Most of the rest of the media just says that. Please realize that just in New York alone, there are 29 police murderers who had been sentenced to very long terms of imprisonment and mostly to life, who have been paroled just in the last 5 years, based on the left-wing, crazy, insane, criminal-loving New York legislature and Governor Cuomo, who now wants to be mayor of New York. So I guess he can continue to let criminals roam the streets. He's responsible originally for the laws that have put somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 violent criminals on the streets of New York that would have been in jail when I was mayor or Mike Bloomberg. He's also responsible for the change in the standard for parole that has resulted in 29 cop killers walking the streets of New York. It is true that Governor Hochul can't get it reversed because she can't do anything. And Adams doesn't seem to be able to do much about it either. But Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was one of the direct participants in killing all of those innocent Americans who just went to work that day, and has left so many families with children that grew up without a father, without a mother, best friends dead, children dead. Worst terrorist attack on the United States, possibly the worst foreign attack on the United States, more dead than at Pearl Harbor. Now, they were captured way back in 2003 when Bush was president. He and Mustafa al-Haswawi were captured in Pakistan, and Walid bin Atash was captured in Karachi, Pakistan in April of 2003, and they were transferred to Guantanamo Bay in 2006. They were finally arraigned in 2008, which seems kind of weird. And then they were arraigned for a second time in 2012. Why this took so long is another scandal of massive proportions, absolutely massive proportions. Under President Joe Biden, who I don't know what he was president of, but certainly not the United States, because no president would have allowed this deal to be struck. A plea deal was struck with the Office of Military Commissioners, and the 3 terrorists will plead guilty for all charges, including the 2,976 victims listed in the charge sheet. And as a result of that, they will not be executed. Really a few days later, a person who runs the Defense Department, because it's civilian control, not military control, announced he was withdrawing the agreements. 2 years later, 4 months later, a military judge rules that the deals are valid and must stand. And the victims' families were notified on November 8th. Notice they waited until the election, right? Sounds like a completely phony deal. Wait until the election. And then on December 30th, a U.S. court military commission issued a ruling that Austin lacked the authority to overturn the plea agreements and reinstituted them. Where the hell did they get rights? The Code of Military Justice doesn't apply to terrorists. The Secretary of Defense can do anything he goddamn wants to with them. What are they talking about? I hope the Trump administration takes this to the Supreme Court, because once again, like what the Biden-oriented, Trump-deranged judges have done to Trump and to me and to Professor Eastman and others, this is outrageous. If these were military members, this may or may not have been a correct decision. There may be certain rights that are independent of the Secretary of Defense or the President to effect. But there's no code of military justice for murdering terrorists. And the whole idea of putting it in military courts was asinine to start with. And murder has no statute of limitations. Why the hell don't they prosecute them in federal court with a damn good U.S. attorney? I know some. Not any of the Biden people. They're all sort of like his lackeys. But when we get some really good ones, what are we afraid of? We're afraid. Do you realize how ineffective and cowardly this makes us look? Going back to Bush, for that matter. I mean, there were 5 years under Bush when they could have been prosecuted. 5 years is enough to prosecute anybody. This is another indication of how horribly incompetent our government is. And this isn't military justice. This isn't justice. This is crap. This is lazy, silly, cowardly, crap. I do not understand how they can assert any procedural rights under the Code of Military Justice. Tell me when they joined the United States military, or show me in the Code of Military Justice that it applies to terrorists. Even their assertion of rights under the American Constitution is limited. Well, Israel knows how to do it right. Huh? You kill an Israeli, they're going to search you down to the ends of the earth, and they're going to get you, no matter what. Has to have preserved Israel because of that. And it's scaring the living daylights out of the Ayatollah right now as he sees how effective Israel can be when they don't listen to a lily-livered coward like the Biden and the Obama people. And they go ahead and do what a country is supposed to do to protect their own citizens, which those bums never did for us. The IDF will continue to operate against all of the terrorists who took part in the murderous October 7 massacre. This is when they announced the killing of Hamas commander, who they have videos of his carrying out murder and kidnapping at the kibbutz near Oz, which is a community fewer than 2 miles from the Gaza border, where Hamas methodically burned all 250 cars at the kibbutz so that the residents who weren't immediately murdered or abducted couldn't escape, so they could be burned. This was considered, this community was considered it was called a joyous paradise for 7 decades. If you know anything about the history of Israel, you know that the kibbutz was a socialist invention. And within the politics of Israel, this is probably the most pacifist group of people, and the people most inclined to be sold by the terrorist bullshit of a two-state solution. I think, because the plans are very, very clear, that they're going to focus on these kibbutzes, not go after soldiers. The soldiers were collateral damage to killing the men, women, and children. Whereas in Israel's case, in the case of legal, lawful, and humane nations, the civilians are collateral to the killing of the combatants. They're just the opposite. Now, I'm not making that up. Those are the plans that they seized. That's who our young students from the Ivy League schools are protesting in favor of, the people who specifically targeted children and women and men, non-combatants. And if they kill no soldiers, they'd have been really happy. And they went after the people who agree with them, by and large. I think they're sending a message, right? The message they're sending is what they've been saying for 50 years and nobody listens. We want to destroy Israel and the Jewish people, as our prophet told us to do if they don't convert. I'm sorry, that's what the prophet Muhammad said. We gonna take the book seriously or not? We're just gonna read parts of it that we want to, and not read other parts because it's politically incorrect. I think that's a sacrilege to do that. Can we interpret those other parts of it as now outdated by current morals and a different way of living, and just like, although not anywhere near as horrendous, the idea of stoning, which I guess in an individual case is just as horrendous. But I mean, Muhammad was contemplating much more than stoning, mass killings to get the attention of a village. I mean, Muhammad would have been very, very proud of this plan, or at least the second half of Muhammad. We're going to do a special next year on this year on that. It'll just be. We'll try to make it digestible, like 1 hour on bringing to you unvarnished what's in the Quran and in a very, very legitimate, very disciplined history. So you get an idea that these people can rely on religious texts for mass murder, for killing Jews, and for killing Christians. And an awful lot of modern Muslims will reject that. Thank God. But an awful lot of others don't. And it isn't just a few. It's a large group. And they are very well organized, and they're both Shia and Sunni, as we see in Syria now, where, I don't know, we may have replaced bad with better, or we may have replaced bad with worse. We don't know the answer to that. In the kibbutz that Abd al-Hadi Sabah, who was the head of the Nukba platoon in Hamas's West Khan Yunis battalion, he was in charge of eliminating the people in kibbutz near Oz, and he killed 35 of them and took 75 that he kidnapped. It's on video. Well, he was done away with the other day when they went to southern Gaza and eliminated him and his companions. Also, in the northern part of Gaza, the IDF killed Anas Mohammed Masri. You may remember that name. That name has come up before. He was commander of the northern sector of the Palestine Islamic Jihad's rocket unit. He was in charge of shooting a lot of the rockets into Israel. This is the guy where 1/4 of them backfired on him, but I guess he was fast enough to escape them. He didn't get killed with his own rockets, although a lot of his own people did. So when you look at the number of Palestinians killed, including civilians, there's a certain number that were killed by backfiring rockets by these idiots, animals. Well, Masri had evaded the Israelis, but you don't evade the Israelis forever, unlike Biden and Blinken and the anti-Americans who are in charge of our government. If you kill innocent Israelis, they're going to kill you. We let you sit in a relatively nice prison, much nicer than the mountain huts that we had them locked up in. Much nicer than our J6 people are in. Probably as nice as they've ever lived in, these animals. And now they're going to be able to live there forever. And who knows, maybe we'll get another Biden one of these days and they'll do a trade. He'll trade him with his friend, the Ayatollah. I mean, if you give the guy $100 billion, why not give him a couple of old murderers? As long as they're alive, there's always hope. I've told you this before. Don't ever listen to anybody that says that life in prison is worse than being executed. So why are these guys asking for life in prison, begging for it? And why do all these people beg for life imprisonment? Why do the left-wing groups that help to fund lawfare against me and Trump and everybody else fund getting these people off from the death penalty? I mean, there may be one or two that would rather die, but that sure ain't the majority. And also, they're realistic. If you get a left-wing, silly, stupid, or communist, they're going to let you out. So the Israelis have a better way of doing it. Here's the rule. You kill an innocent Israeli, we're going to search you down to the end of the earth, and we're going to kill you. Your time is limited. And they're not letting Biden stop them. I mean, Biden would have stopped them on day 5. You probably don't remember because the press doesn't remind you that Harris predicted when they went into Rafah that it would be that 100,000 people would be killed. About 8,000, mostly terrorist leadership, including a couple of leftovers like this guy Masri. Who knows? There might be a few more left over. Bibi has walked out of the hospital after his prostate cancer operation, defying his doctors. Sounds like my kind of guy, right? And your kind of guy. Thank God we have Bibi. He's taking care of the Houthis for us. He's doing our dirty work for us. They're shooting at us. They're killing our people. And we conduct, they've done 130 attacks, and we've done 2 or 3 relatively minor Clinton-type empty field attacks. And he's been pounding the hell out of them. I mean, he's carrying on like 3 wars at once while Biden is whatever the hell he was. When he came out tonight, I wonder if they pump him up with something. Like I'm trying to remember with the vampires where they sleep during the day and then they have to go around and at night and get blood in order to stay alive, right? Otherwise they get all white and pasty. And I don't think that, I'm not suggesting that happens, but he sure looks weird when he comes out. Couple of times over Christmas, I was flipping the channels because I love to watch A Christmas Carol. And I thought I was watching a new version of Scrooge when I saw him with his hair like that. And, when Scrooge gets frightened by the ghost of Christmas past. But I mean, Scrooge, it turned out to be a decent guy. I don't think he's ever met his granddaughter, Navy, yet.
I don't think so.
They sure as heck excluded her from Christmas. The first stepmother would not put out a Christmas stocking for her.
That's right.
Did you ever realize how bad these people are? So when we come back, we're going to take a look, and you tell me if this is frightening or it's ingenious. And it's one of the applications of artificial intelligence, okay? And you tell us what you think. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please don't.
We're back.
This is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back. And I told you that we're back on America's Mayor Live. I told you that this artificial intelligence thing is, well, I don't know. I'm not going to be judgmental about it. I'm just going to explain this to you. This is, again, another very interesting article by a reporter who does interesting articles, Ricky Schlott. I think she's been on, right?
Right. She's been on.
Ricky did one on artificial intelligence, one application of it done by a New York and London-based company called Synthesia, Synthesia. So they can produce AI-generated versions of a company's clients that look and gesticulate just like them. Or they can do it for you or me. I guess they could do it with me, right? All they claim to need is a 2 or 3 minute clip of the person reading a script. And from that, they pick up the voice, the intonation, the hand gestures. And Alex Zavdun, who was an account executive in Synthesia's Midtown office, told Ricky that it could take you like 30 seconds to 2 minutes to generate a new video, depending on how much personalization you want to happen. This takes away all the hassle of making a video. And Mark Cuban is an investor in this company. And they use it a lot for corporate training, which sounds rather benign, right? But you can think of what can happen here. There's a gentleman named Mont Parr that she references in the article who makes $20,000 to $35,000 a month from YouTube ads every month with AI doing the ads. So he programs in an ad and they create a something who does the ad, speaks for the ad, and therefore he can do something like, he used to do regular ads. He can do like 10 times the number. He runs 12 informational YouTube channels, this man Parr does, on topics like travel, finance, and health. And it has narrated videos and stock footage. And he just tells AI to come up with video ideas, to write the scripts, to generate the background video, and to even narrate the videos, which saves him the cost of having to pay an actor. And they artificially generate the voice and, gosh, everything else. All he has to do to put all these out on these 12 different channels and pick up his 35 grand a month is do some cleanup along the way. And he has 750,000 subscribers on his personal YouTube account. And they say that a video that would take 6 hours, let's say for you or me to make, if we did it as let's say might doing an ad. I do them real quick. I should tell you that, but yeah. One take, Rudy. That's what I used to be known as to the Republican National Committee. I once did 50 political ads in 2010. And I think out of the 50, I had to retake about 4. But I have a pretty good memory. But I've done ads when there's a lot of production involved that do take more than 1 hour. Absolutely, that could take 5 or 6 hours. And the way they shoot the really big ones for television, they shoot like a movie. He can do them in less than an hour. He can do a 6 hours of an ad with all the complexity of a 6-hour ad in 1 hour, which means he can, it's like a machine. AI is replacing people. I don't know how people feel about that, about jobs and stuff like that. And an awful lot of people are in that industry, including not just the talent, but the people who do the filming and the people who do the makeup and the people who do the set designs. And now they're all make-believe sets, right, Ted?
Right.
They used to build those things. I remember, I used to go to the Metropolitan Opera a lot, and I was very, very close to the management, I would always go backstage and look at the beautiful scenery. And now they could just, I don't know what they could do. They could just create something back there with a screen. And Fiso Stoll, who's only a 19-year-old YouTuber, he made an Instagram and he created an artificial intelligence blonde bombshell and generated videos of her in scantily clad various tropical settings. Within 30 minutes, he had made 40 videos. 30 minutes, 40 videos. I essentially had created a new influencer, and you can do that in about 20 minutes. Over the course of 2 weeks, Stoll got 150,000 views without any promotional effort. Yeah, let me show you her. That's her. You got it? She doesn't exist.
Not real?
There it is, right there. There she is. Ricky Stoll, right there, exists. That's her story. This one, they look a little alike. Except Ricky is much more tastefully dressed. But this one here is not for real. Now, here's the one that's really interesting. You can see that. Real human and avatar. Can you tell the difference? What do you say?
Well, they're labeled, unfortunately, otherwise.
No, I know. But I mean,
I'm going to hide that. Let's see if I can get. Now I hid the labeling. So folks can now guess. If you're just now seeing it, which one of those is real and which one is human?
quick view, you can't. Quick view, you can't.
You can tell right here which one's real and fake?
I think that one on the right looks like.
Yeah, I think you're right. If I really looked at it,
If you told me, if you took the labels away and you asked me which is the real one, which is the fake one, I definitely pick the one on the right.
that's the fake one.
Yeah, but if you just presented me with the one on the right,
You would think it might be real.
yeah. If you just did this, what's that? If you just did that,
Yeah.
and you had him do an ad, would you be able to tell?
No.
Yeah. If I just put that up there and said that's Frank Jones.
Right.
Frank today ran got drafted by the Giants, or Frank today just graduated from college, or Frank is going to be on the show later and talk about the changes in the medical community. But I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't pick it up. There are people I've shown this to today that say they'd pick it up.
Yeah.
But I'd like to test them, with 4 or 5 of these. And I think at first glance, you're not going to tell. Now, what about her?
Can't tell. So somebody made that and made money?
Now, this one doesn't, I guess this doesn't exist. Her.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a person that they made into this one obviously is one they made an avatar of. It's a real human being and they made an avatar of him. And then the avatar will do the commercials. He doesn't have to do them. So let's say he's doing commercials on pens. So normally the real human would do it. But now the real human can stay home and the avatar can do it. Now, I think they can create an avatar out of whole cloth. In other words, without a human being, which I think she may be. I think she may be that.
Well, we'll have to follow this. We'll have to.
We're going to see if we can get a couple of
AI experts.
commercial, pure AI commercials.
Okay.
And then we're going to see.
We'll do regular and AI and see if.
And Ted and I, first Ted will test me and then I'll test Ted and then we'll test you.
Yes, that'll be fun.
So this guy,
Right.
I mean, it's really amazing. So if we go back to one of them that I mentioned, something very interesting happened. And you see if you agree with him, okay? You see if you agree with this guy. because so over the course of 2 weeks, the guy who created the blonde bombshell. I'm trying to look here if the blonde bombshell is a real human being made into an avatar like the one we're looking at, or he made her up. It says Sfiso Stroll became curious about just how easy it would be to generate an influencer from scratch with AI. So we made an Instagram, created an AI blonde bombshell, and generated videos of her. Sounds like he created her.
Yeah.
She doesn't exist. Yeah. Within 30 minutes, he had done 40 videos. He did 150,000 views without any promotional efforts whatsoever. The attention is immediate because essentially you've got.
We'll have to follow this.
You've got the most attractive human being on the planet, and that seems to perform really well on Instagram. If you're not attentive, which most people aren't, you will not notice the AI at first glance. And he got a great deal of attention. And he says this was a personal experience for him. As soon as it started working, I decided I'm not going to do this. I felt like it was all kind of wrong, Stoll admits. This is scary. And he stopped doing it. On the other hand, Chase Reiner was doing it and continues to do it. And he uses it to help his clients start up a business. And he shows them how to use these tools. And another young woman named Isabella Kotsias started a social media channel for herself and her dog, Mika, during the pandemic. And without artificial intelligence, she got herself to 10 million. And she was making $100,000 a month. And she became a millionaire by 25. But now she uses AI, and she's making considerably more than that. She says it's like having an employee, but you're not paying. What do you think, Ted? What's your take on this?
I think it's going to be part of the future. We have to kind of figure out how and whether or not we need to have take steps to ensure we can tell the difference. As of right now, I think it's hard, but it's still.
Don't you think in
something, but
advertising
eventually
you have to tell people?
You would think so.
Would truth in advertising require that you tell them that this is not a live human being that's endorsing this product? Because part of selling the product, well, first of all, if it's a personality, then you're using the credibility of that personality to do it.
Right.
And they should be speaking. There shouldn't be an artificial voice for them.
Right.
Second, if you're creating a non-person, people should know that a non-person is urging them to use a product and not a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Well, in the past, for example, when they'd people would airbrush photos, modeling agencies, they'd put up photos of highly doctored models, for example. In the past, have they had to explain? Like not a real image, or like before and after.
But that, I mean, look, it's like anything else. You can go too far.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount. I mean, people put makeup on for television, and they put makeup on for ads. Okay, maybe it's more honest not to, but it looks a little better. Or the lights act, or maybe it is more honest because, frankly, there are people who look better in person than on television. Television is a very strange medium. It makes some people look better. It makes some people look worse. So to make adjustments like that for the lights and for everything else, that's okay. And even a certain amount of editing, and as long as it's under control of the person. But to take like this guy here, right? And instead of the real human telling us to buy that computer, let's say.
Right.
They get his and they decide to use the avatar he gives them to just endorse all kinds of things. That seems to me to be a fraud. He's not endorsing them. The avatar, and in the case of a completely created like the blonde bombshell, I have no doubt that's a fraud.
Yeah.
If she says, get a bikini like mine, she's not she doesn't have a bikini. She's lying. The whole thing is a lie. Now, maybe you shouldn't allow it at all, but you sure should require public disclosure, I think. So Elon and our close friend Mr. Ramaswamy are creating, as you know, because we've had discussions about this almost endlessly over the New Year's holiday, are creating quite a thing with this H-1B visa. But beyond that, with the more extraordinary claims that there should be, but there are 86,000 H-1B visas, of which last year 60 plus thousand were used. And to me, that number doesn't really have much of an impact, except if it should be used the right way, where you need someone who is extraordinarily capable of doing the thing that you need done, and there's no one available in the domestic market to do it. Now, Dr. Maria, for example, our partner, utilized that in rural hospital where it's hard to get doctors. I've utilized that very, very occasionally in my security business, particularly with Israelis who had superior knowledge on certain areas of security. But by and large, I much prefer to hire an American who's going to be available, and I didn't know it was less expensive. I mean, I seem to remember you had to pay them this. You had to pay them the same, and you also had to pay for their coming here and new accommodation. I thought actually it was a little more expensive, but they say it. The problem, I think, with it, and it really is a shame because this is a good program in moderation. Like almost everything is good in moderation, right?
Right.
But when you start talking about 250,000, 300,000, I don't know, certainly not right now when we're flooded with an untold number of illegals that we have to deal with. That's got to be our priority, not necessarily bringing in geniuses, as long as we have scope to do it where it's an emergency and we have to. Second, I think the thing that poisoned this debate were the extremely unflattering words about Americans from our friend Vivek and to some extent Elon, but particularly Vivek. We really love Vivek. I mean, really do. I think he was really a great addition, and told him that. I don't know what he's doing now. I can just attribute it to what I did when he started folding a bit as a candidate. I told Ted this because Ted likes him as much as I do. I said, we both knew he wasn't going to get the nomination. But I said, you got to be careful because he's a first-time candidate and they make terrible mistakes. And politics is not his business, nor is it Elon's. And there are a lot of things that are bad about politics, but there are some things that are very good about it because it's about persuasion. In a democracy, we persuade, we don't dictate. That's what Biden's problem. Biden comes into office and he signs 90 dictates. Who signs dictates but dictators? And no, he didn't try to get anybody to agree with it. He just did away with the Stay in Mexico program. How stupid was that? And he dictated it. That's what Stalin used to do. And I am detecting a little bit of this we're smarter than you are attitude, which is exactly what most of the people that were attracted to Trump are rejecting. I mean, sure, there are problems in American education and at all levels. At the public school level, largely because of the Communist Teachers Union, the results are abominable and frightening. On the other hand, the results in the charter schools, which are public schools, and have turned out to be great alternatives to them, if only you would allow freedom of choice for parents. The answer is right there, prevented by crooked politics, and also prevented by brainwashing. 70% or so of Black parents support vouchers or parent choice, where the state apparatchiks do not assign your child to a school, but you get to choose the school your child goes to, and you get to spend the money that's spent by the state. However, that 70% largely vote for politicians who make it impossible to do that, not because their community doesn't want it. Their community wants it desperately. Not because it wouldn't be really the only answer for the tremendous failure of to educate properly poor Black children, poor white children, any poor children. And they vote against it out of Pavlovian voting as opposed to intellectual. Think about it. I want to have control over my child's education. Congressman, Democrat, so-and-so is going to vote against it 100% because he's owned by the teachers union. And boy, if there's one vote that he's going to do, it's that one, because teachers union will come in and spend $3 million and take him right out of office. But the Republican isn't so constrained like I wasn't. I was in favor of doing a school choice program as mayor of New York. I also independently, privately supported anybody who wanted to do it privately. The teachers union tried to stop me from giving out literature for private alternatives in the public schools. I used my cops and firefighters to do it. I mean, it's a real battle with the communist Randy Weingarten. They don't believe in choice. They believe in the state. Your child is the property of the state. But they vote for these people anyway. So there are a lot of things we have to take on. And I just wish that Vivek would look, you're making some very good points, both you and Elon. Ain't going to help to insult the American people. We're really not all stupid. And even those of us who do like football, many of us are quite intelligent. And there are many of us who also believe that playing a team sport makes us superior in some ways to people who don't, because we understand the full nature of how to accomplish things. There's some reason why we're the most creative nation on earth, and the Chinese have to steal from us, because their education, which may do really well on tests, is so damn rigid that it doesn't allow for independent thinking. We may opt in favor of too much independent thinking, but that does make us more creative. So there's a more complicated discussion, as our wonderful guest the other night pointed out. We should have her on again.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have Allison back on.
We are, and I'm working on it now, and we'll tell you more about it tomorrow and the next night. But we're going to work on something different for the new year. I used to do the Common Sense podcast, and the Common Sense podcast were on a single subject where we could really educate, whereas now we do a number of different subjects. So we're going to try to do one or two of those each week and put them on our special channel on X. And we're going to start with some pretty short ones. Will be easy to digest on what we predict will be the 2 or 3 first things that Trump takes on as president, and what we think he's going to do. So you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we can get your participation in that. I mean, some of it's obvious, some is not. Some of the things he's going to do are obvious. Some of them have choices, particularly with regard to, let's say, Ukraine and the Middle East. And I'll tell you what I think, from spending a lot of time with them. I'll tell you what I think the direction they're going to go in, or what could alter that direction. And we'll do maybe 2 or 3 of them, and put them on next week and tell you how to get them, and then we can discuss them. There's no doubt, of course, so let's not be coy about it, that the border is right at the top, and I think you're going to see action on the border literally on day one. You can tell Mr. Holden is, what do they say, chomping at the bit like a horse. Let me arrest a few of those guys. Here is a great picture I want you to see. Let me just find it, because it really illustrates, without any doubt, the complete and absolute effing hypocrisy of every Democrat that exists. Everyone, not just one, but everyone.
That a picture?
No, well, you want to look at that picture right there. Take a look at that picture. That picture talking about immigration. Those are Tren Deragua people in El Paso trying to get across the border before Trump becomes president. This group, these people may look like they're nice people, but they belong to Tren Deragua, almost all of them, and most of them are experts in murder, drug dealing, chopping people's heads off, and they're headed for New York or Aurora, Colorado, which has now become their prime little hideaway. And Aurora, Colorado is one of the things that, of course, they played denial. They played complete denial with, which is a tragedy. Interesting this year is the mayor of New York, Mayor Adams, who's going to run for re-election. Of course, it's going to be interrupted. Maybe this is going to happen a lot now by a trial before he gets there, about whether he got upgrades for trips to Turkey, and whether in return for that he did extraordinary favors for them. So the upgrades could that part of the case could fail if he didn't know about them, which would not. I can't say he did or he didn't, but it wouldn't be like unusual that he didn't, and that it was done through his secretary. The second part, which is the favor he did for them, which is speeding up construction they wanted. I don't know. There are so many bigger and more important bribes in New York that people are getting away with. It does seem like President Trump is right, and he was singled out. Here's the problem with Mayor Adams, who I have lots of problems with, including the other cases that actually seem more disturbing than this one, involving possible kickbacks for homeless contracts, possible kickbacks for illegal alien contracts, particularly since those contracts seem to be really, really inflated in terms of numbers compared to others in other parts of the country. But in any event, no matter what, so far, he's better than the alternatives. The rest of them are out of their minds, crazy. I hate the word progressive. Socialists, or socialist morons, or straight out morons, or communists, or people who want to change your gender, or people who want to trash the police, or everyone that I've seen will hasten the already fast-moving destruction in New York, except him. So it's going to be very tough. And I don't think if he gets convicted, he'll get a Trump effect. I don't think the case has been made as strongly as it was with Trump that these are frame-ups. The problem for Adams is he can make the case that he's been singled out, which Trump did, but he can't make the case that the crimes are a joke. So let's just compare, for example, the crime that so-called Trump was convicted. We don't know what it is. They never notified him of the underlying felony that his alleged putting in a false entry was furthering. Of course, that's a completely illegal conviction. You can't give person a multiple choice of the crimes they committed, which is what Judge Crooked Merchant did, and then didn't get a unanimous verdict on any one felony. And from the very beginning, it was quite obvious this was a put-up job. Whereas in Adams' case, there's no question he was singled out. But they may have singled out a guy who's guilty. Even if it is a fairly minor violation, with these other ones in back of it, which seem to be more serious. So I think a conviction in his case will not have the effect. I mean, they were I think if they had brought that one more case in Arizona against him, Trump would have been elected by acclamation. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, we should really report them for illegal campaign contributions with all the indictments they did. What do you think, Ted?
I think
they sure helped, right?
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it backfired.
I think to some way DeSantis has convinced himself that they destroyed his candidacy.
Right.
I don't think he was going to win.
I don't either.
No matter what.
I don't.
But the reality is they sure as hell made it easier. There's no question about that. So we're going to take off in a minute here. But let's see if I can't show you what I wanted to show you. Okay. This is there's a lawsuit that's been brought against de Blasio. And de Blasio was the mayor during he was the dictator. He was our Democrat dictator in New York, like you had Whitlis and, some of the others. Now, he required that we all wear masks. He required that we report people that don't, like Tampon Tim did. This is a Black Lives Matter, as you can see, defund the police rally. I see one mask on, maybe two. The theory was that if you were doing what they wanted you to do, you didn't spread COVID. But if you weren't, you had to wear a mask. Now, why wasn't he thrown out of office when he did that? That's the biggest bunch of... These are basic rights that people have. People got fired from jobs. People's careers were destroyed because they wouldn't wear a mask because of these dictators. And this guy's a straight-out communist. That little face that you see there, that's called a communist. His honeymoon was in Cuba. Yeah, who the hell would have a honeymoon in Cuba or China like Tampon Tim? Then he supported the Sandinistas against the United States of America. And they voted for him for mayor of New York, which is why it is a corrupt Democrat city, which is made possible because New York has more brainwashed people than most places in America. And it's a shame. It's a tragedy. And if you look at the voting patterns over the last 150 years or longer, I always remind people, they didn't vote for Abraham Lincoln. Well, I hope you had a wonderful New Year's celebration. I hope it didn't leave you too tired, so you were able to stay up and watch the show. I hope you give us some thoughts on how you would like us to change things for the new year, because we're in the process of doing that, and we'll announce that later this week or early next week. Minor changes, tweaks, so that we stay on our toes and you stay on your toes. And that'll begin with those short podcasts that I said on what are the top 2 or 3 issues that Trump has to tackle immediately, and our recommendations and predictions, both. And we'll keep on top of this terrorist attack and see just how far it goes. I mean, it might be limited. It might go very far. I mean, it's very hard to tell. And as whether there's a connection with Las Vegas, right now there's really no way to predict that without more evidence. So I think the people of Ukraine and the people of Israel are still in great jeopardy. There's still a couple of weeks. Things are going to be much better for them when we have a real president again. But let's pray for them. Let's pray for the people of Iran who may be looking at a year in which they finally get free of the reign of terror. And now that we enter the new year, let's give thanks to God that he brought us through 2024 in a position to reestablish our rights as Americans, which have been grossly trampled and taken away from us by the Biden regime more than any other administration in American history. We haven't had anything like this in terms of the deprivation of constitutional rights. Free speech is a great example of that, but I could go on with others. And restoring them is going to take a while, but I believe it's going to happen. And I thank God for giving us the wisdom to make that choice. See you tomorrow night on America's Mayor Live. Next week, we'll be back with our 7 o'clock show on Frank's speech. And you can always get us on X. And if anything happens tomorrow on these cases or whatever, we'll come and talk to you. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply